Your ability to detect high-level threats is critical to your chess improvement. Not seeing threats is a primary reason players lose. You simply didn't see the punch coming, or you were too late to stop it. I've already given you the building blocks of key chess threats in 4 video lessons on the 16 forcing controlling moves, on the 14 strategic goals, the 13 chess tactics, and how to find chess tactics with power moves. Go look at those first, and I'll put the links in the description below. In this new threat detection series, you will get invaluable practice at detecting and discovering the threats of the world's greatest players. These threats are usually prepared within 1, 2, and 3 moves, and at best are double threats, which are very difficult to detect. In this game, we'll be looking at threats made against Kasparov and against his opponent. You'll be asked to pause the video to detect the threats. This is a game between Garry Kasparov with the black pieces and Rizvonov. We're going to pick up the game at move 18, where white has just played bishop to a3. Okay, let's get oriented with this position here. We have the bishop on a3, skewering the pawn, queen, and rook. Got the bishop on the long diagonal. Got the knight defended by the bishop. We've got this pawn being attacked by the queen. Got the queen and rook on the b file, challenged by the black rook. We've got this undefended pawn, we've got the rook here, and this backward pawn, and the rook here. So now I would like you to pause the video and look at all forcing moves that black has, and see if you come up with the move that Kasparov made. So pause the video. Okay, did you find this deflection here with bishop to c2? Hitting the queen and the rook, pulling the queen off of the defense of this rook. Remember, queens make poor defenders. Look for those opportunities. This allows black to win the exchange and to take command of the b file. It's fantastic. Bishop to c2, queen takes, rook takes. Job well done. Knight to e5. Hitting this undefended knight, taking advantage of this pinned pawn because of the bishop here. An anomalous move. So how do we capture? Well, the knight's hanging. If we take with the pawn, the bishop can take. So the knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. 2 defenders on this pawn, 2 attackers. So what do? What does white do? He gets rid of one of the defenders, removing the defender, a classic tactical maneuver. Bishop backs off, and now he grabs the pawn. It looks like he's going to get his rook exchange. Oh, see, isn't that scary? I'd be afraid to do that, wouldn't you? Bishop takes and queen takes. Now let's take a moment and assess the position. Let's look at strengths and weaknesses on both sides of the board. Remember, you first conduct a power move evaluation, all the forcing moves, captures, trades, checks, attacks on the queen, etc. So let's do a defensive evaluation for the black pieces. We see an undefended pawn again, and this undefended pawn. No immediate checks. We've got a hit on the queen that's no good. Undefended rook. Okay. On the white side, we see this weak pawn and a backward pawn here. We've got opposite colored bishops, which have their own strategic rules for playing with, which I'll do a video on another time. This could also be considered a passed pawn, and this could be considered a passed pawn. So what does white do? Queen to a2, hitting both weaknesses. Alright, now we see Kasparov shine here. And we can too, and we know what to look for. So pause the video and look at offensive possibilities for solving all of your problems. The best defense is a good offense. So pause the video. Okay, you probably saw this check. That's the first thing you look for, right? So he plays check. The king runs. And now what do you do if you're black? Do you just win this pawn? It would be very dangerous to do that. First, he still has this check on this pawn. So instead, he penetrates enemy territory, one of his key strategic goals. You get closer to targets. He's still defending both pawns, but he's penetrated enemy territory, and he's also hitting another target here. A very multi-purpose move. Look for moves like that in your game. That's what it is to play precise chess. and to slowly get the initiative, to keep your opponent on the defensive, which makes it more possible to go on an attack that can't be stopped. So his opponent moves the target and attacks the rook, but it coordinates the rook and the bishop now on the b2 square, which Kasparov takes advantage of. But maybe that was a lure. Maybe white wanted him to do that. He plays queen to a4. What is the threat? Just look for checks, guys. Checkmate. So Kasparov gives himself an escape square. Now this pawn is being attacked twice by the queen and rook. And if the queen takes it, there may be a mate threat over here against the bishop and this pawn. So white defends it by moving the bishop to f3. But maybe this was a multi-purpose move. So pause the video and see if there was a longer range plan involved with that. So pause the video. When good players move, they're always trying to coordinate their pieces, because pieces working together are much more powerful. So did you see the bishop coming to h5, coordinating with the queen on e8, creating a mating possibility? If the bishop is here, we have a check here, bishop here, checkmate, because the queen would be here and the king wouldn't be able to run back. Kasparov sees this potential threat, so he takes the tempo away from white by moving the king first. Now there's no check. Now it takes white 3 moves to launch that threat. 1, 2, and 3. So that gives black a lot of time to come up with his own threats. So white goes for it. Move number 1. 2 moves away from checkmate. Now I want you to pause the video and look at all the possible forcing moves. See if you can figure out what Kasparov did here. So pause the video. Okay, always look for the weakness in your opponent's previous move, because you can't have it all and there's usually a drawback. Some square is left undefended. This bishop move allowed a check here. Did you see that? Power move number 1. It's easy to do when you know what to look for. So he kept that in mind and then looked to see if he could build on that. Because if he did it right now, the bishop would just come back, chase the queen away. So he made a brilliant move. Let's see if you guys thought of it. He played rook to b1. Wow. Undefended rook. Hitting this rook can just capture it, right? This is where the check comes in handy. This move also keeps the queen off the square for a move, because the queen is defending the rook. It's truly taking advantage of the opportunities that are there on the board. Pieces defended by the queen and the king are weak. So the rook takes, the queen checks, the bishop slides back, blocking the check, queen takes with check, and now it's black that has the initiative. The king runs up. Okay, pause the video again and come up with another continuation for black. Let's pause the video. Okay, now that white no longer has the attack on the king, black is free to go on the attack. So he plays the bishop up, coordinating with the queen for this check here. White plays queen to d7, attacking the undefended bishop. Black throws the check in, defending the bishop. The king runs. The queen checks again on f1, and the bishop blocks. Okay, now I want you to pause the video again. There's an anomalous move you can prepare here, so give it some thought. Pause the video. Okay. If we look at the position generally, we see 5 pawns against 5 pawns and opposite colored bishops. Next to checkmate, your goal is to win material, right? Win pawns or pieces. So there's a fantastic anomalous move that Kasparov sees here. And it can be found by looking for the power moves in 1 and power moves in 2, as was explained in that video on how to find tactics. So did anybody find queen takes pawn, which prepares a check here, which is actually checkmate? He can get away with it, and he defends this pawn. The bishop is untouchable. Brilliant. But you can find them by knowing which questions to ask. Power moves in 1 and power moves in 2. Can it really be that simple to find the brilliancies of one of the world's greatest players? We're on our way, boys. Now black's up a pawn with a passed pawn. Could very well be winning, as long as you take care of your weaknesses while you push your advantage. So white plays bishop to b7, probably to gang up on this pawn. And now I'd like you to pause the video again and come up with a continuation for black. So pause the video. Okay, did you find the preparation for check? Bishop to G1, coordinating with the queen again. Piece networking. Always look for that in your games. That's how you outplay your opponent. So it's actually a mate threat. Queen takes is mate. Queen can't defend this pawn. Only the bishop can block. But then did you forget about this mate? Checkmate. Actually, white resigned after the bishop played to G1. He didn't play the bishop back. He saw the mate here. So we learned what questions Kasparov asked himself in order to find these brilliant moves. Thumbs up and subscribe, and talk to you later.